Hi, this is Alex from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book on record episode to do. Today's book is The Story of Heidi from 1968. So let's get started.
This is a Disneyland original little long-playing record, and I am your story reader. I am going to begin now to read the story of Heidi. You can read along with me in your book. You will know it is time to turn the page when Tinker Bell rings her little bells like this. Let's begin now. Heidi was a little girl who had no parents, only an aunt and a grandfather who lived on top of a mountain. One day, her aunt decided Heidi should go live with her grandfather. Heidi had no suitcase to pack her clothes in, so she wore them all at once. Heidi and her aunt started up the mountain. Halfway up was a little village called Dorfley. People in Dorfley said Heidi's grandfather was a grumpy old man who did not like visitors. Heidi and her aunt kept on climbing. Soon the village was far behind. The slopes of the mountain grew steep. The two travelers stopped to rest. While they were resting, Heidi looked up and saw a young boy sitting on a small grassy mound. He was watching a herd of goats, and he said his name was Peter. Every morning, Peter took the goats from the village into the high meadow to graze. He told Heidi that two of the goats, Schwanley and Barley, belonged to her grandfather. Soon Heidi and her aunt reached the top of the mountain. Heidi's grandfather was sitting on a bench in front of his house. Heidi did not think he looked at all grumpy. He was surprised to learn that she had come to live with him. Outside of the house, it had a ladder to a hayloft. Heidi climbed up. She could see the whole valley from the hayloft window. Would be all right if she slept up there. The warm sun streaming in the window woke Heidi the next morning. Soon Peter came to get Schwanley and both Heidi and Peter. Heidi enjoyed living on the mountaintop. Many happy days and weeks came and went. Before long, it was Christmas time. Heidi's grandfather gave her a guitar as a present. It was just like Peter's. One day after Christmas, Heidi's aunt came again. She told the grandfather she had found a place for Heidi to stay where she would get some schooling. It was with the Sessman family in Frankfurt. The old man did not want Heidi to leave. At last, he consented. Heidi sadly said goodbye to everyone and followed her aunt down the mountain. They took a train to Frankfurt, but even the excitement of the trip did not cheer her up. The Sessmans lived in a big, dark house. The housekeeper, Miss Rottenmeier, opened the door. Miss Rottenmeier always looked as if she were displeased about something. Then Heidi met the Sessman's daughter, Clara. Clara had spent most of her life in a large wheelchair. She was lonesome and glad to have someone to keep her company. "You must have hated to leave the mountain," she said to Heidi. Heidi was given new clothes and a room of her own, and she liked Clara, but she missed her grandfather, Peter, and the goats. Clara tried to help. She made up games to play and began teaching Heidi to read. Several months went by. Heidi felt cramped and cooped up in the big, dreary house. One day in April, she could stand it no longer. She ran away. She slipped out of the house, into the street, and into the center of town. There she found a tall, tall tower. Heidi went into the tower building and climbed to the top. The wind from the mountains was blowing free and clear, and the sun shone. When Heidi came down from the tower, A policeman stopped her and asked where she lived. Heidi told him. He took her back to the Sessman house. Miss Rottenmeier was angry and locked Heidi in her room. "You are not to be trusted," she said. Some time later, a kindly old lady came to Heidi's room. It was Grandmother Sessman come to visit. She decided Heidi and Clara needed a trip to the mountains. In no time at all, they were ready to go. They were happy to see the two girls. He told them they could sleep in his big bed. He would sleep in the hayloft. Grandmother Sessman stayed nearby in Dorfleet. The mountain air was like medicine for Clara. One fine morning she felt so good, she decided to try walking. Heidi and Peter helped her at first. Before long, she was going to the high meadow with them every day. At last, Heidi was completely happy. In the clear mountain air, life seemed as beautiful as the flowers all around her.
Play the B-side. So that was the story of Heidi from 1968. So please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day. And our next story will be more Jungle Book.